And then to keep going down the line and stuff, we got 10th Mountain Whiskey Company. I'm glad they come on board with me. They make some spectacular whiskeys out there in Vail, Colorado. They also honor veterans and do a lot for veterans, but they're named after the 10th Mountain Division, a very historic division in the Army that started in World War II. Bob Dole was one of those guys, but they're American single malts. I love them. And then we got Leaper's Fork Distillery in Leaper's Fork, Tennessee. Everybody knows I love their wheated bourbon. Look for a barrel pick coming out in March from me. I think you'll love it. You're going to really want to get your hands on this. And then the New Orleans Bourbon Festival from the 19th to the 23rd of March in New Orleans, Louisiana. 2 days of seminars. You're going to come hear me talk for 2 days. And then 2 nights of just some great grand tastings. They have hundreds and hundreds of distilleries there. They have whiskeys from around the United States, some from around the world. And the cuisine in New Orleans, I've never had a bad meal there, and I'm a big guy and I know something about food. So that's my sponsors. Brandon, tell us about your page and what Brutally Honest Bourbon is all about.
Well, so it started as me just hunting. My neighbor across the street got me started in bourbon probably about 3 years ago. I drank whiskey, I liked bourbon, but just knew the typical shelfers that I could get at ABC's. And he started, showing me some of the different expressions from across the country, and I fell in love. So I started hunting, and then I started watching some of these YouTubes, and, I started watching some of the bigger names, and I started hearing people say that, I don't know if I trust XYZ because I feel like they're bought and paid for. They're just saying this because so-and-so's paying them. And I said, I'm already out here doing it. I want to do this, and I want to earn the respect of just being brutally honest. I don't care if somebody's paying a sponsorship. I'm gonna tell you if I personally like it or not. It's not a fact. If I say it's good, that doesn't make it a fact. It's just a fact that it's good to me. And if I say it's not good to me, it just means it's not good to me. But just know that if I'm telling you that, I mean it, and it's not bought and paid for. So that's kind of where the name comes from. But what I'm trying to brand myself as is, I know Matt, I know Seth, I've met Philip. So some of these smaller distilleries and brands that people don't know about, I'm experiencing some phenomenal stuff, and you guys are too, with these smaller distilleries. So I have a passion about doing what I can to just kind of bring that to the whiskey world, right? Or what little bit part that I can, my small reach, bring it to them and say, hey, try this. And so far, I haven't had anybody be disappointed in any of those juices. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with his craft distilleries out there. And Ivan and I got to go to one the other day. Ivan tagged along with me on a podcast, and what was neat about it was that was the first craft distillery in the United States, technically since Prohibition, since 1989. Now we missed out on some 25-year-old whiskey from them, but we drank some 10-year-old from them that's really come of age, and a very beautiful whiskey. Crittenden's, though, man, spot on. You can find some real gems at these craft distilleries without having to go out there and hunt for allocated bourbon. And I know Mark Rucker's on here, and he's a big fan of Elijah Craig. Some whiskeys from craft distilleries, I call those the Elijah Craig killer. They're going to start putting the hurt on these big boys if they're not careful. So just watch out there, search it out. Ivan, tell us all about Maldonado's whiskey business.
Yeah, well, thank you again. Pretty much what Brandon had said is kind of the model. I had started out, and I'm continuing to learn and grow this, but I had started out just, being a whiskey guy myself. I continue to be that. And I just started discovering these craft distilleries and started discovering these out of the ordinary type of whiskeys out there, especially down south. And I just said, up here in the Washington, D.C. area, at least, we've got a lot of options. We're very, very fortunate and blessed up here to have a lot of options. But those craft distilleries are not part of those options. And I know a lot of people that come here. I do a lot of shares. I do a lot of tastings and things like that. And there's a lot of like-minded people that don't know where to get these. They have a lot of interest. There's a demand, but they don't know much about it. They need somebody to kind of guide them a bit. And I started doing some reviews, and I know that Brandon does those as well. And it's just something that kind of organically started happening. And I would just continue to speak, be very honest, maybe not as brutally honest as Brandon, just a joke. I love that name, by the way. But, just be real, honest about things. I've gotten some compliments, which I'm very humble and I appreciate very much. Just try to be myself, have these conversations, not even on camera, that now I'm starting to put on camera and try to share with the masses in the, Nova or DC metro area, as well as outside that area. I don't want to just kind of pigeon, or kind of limit myself, I should actually say, to this area. I really want to kind of branch out. And again, meeting great people like Brandon and Cohen, which was part of the barrel team down in Louisiana. It was just really excellent. So this is something that I'm starting to grow. People are enjoying it up here, and I want to continue to learn. I got an opportunity to meet you, Big Chief, and that was a great experience. And I want to get out there and learn more of what is out there in this country to offer.
Yeah. And there's so much of that, right? Like, think about the things we still don't know about, but think about when we started, all the things we walked by on the shelf. We walked by the Cajun's Cut. We walked by the Crittenden. We walked by the Detland. We didn't know what those were, right? Nope. And there's still so many of those that we don't know about.
Well, I'd say there are, the longer you're in this, the more distilleries you're going to work with. Obviously, I've been doing this for a minute or two now. I'm on my 7th year. Let me tell people about myself real fast for you new listeners out there, kind of that don't know Big Chief. So I've been in podcasting almost 7 years now. I was with another podcast called The Bourbon Road. I wanted to go home to Texas. Mark Rucker from the Bourbon Life called me up and said, "Hey, Big Chief, we need your beautiful voice and whiskey," something like that. And away we went with a whiskey trip. That name came from the song Whiskey Trip from Gary Stewart. Me and my brother were on a little whiskey trip, and that song came on, and he was like, "That's the perfect name for a podcast." So now under the Bourbon Life's umbrella, you can find my episodes every Tuesday on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you can listen to a podcast, really. Under the Bourbon Life, you just type in the Whiskey Trip, you'll see my episodes pop up there. But I am into the craft movement. I'm nearing 400 total episodes. And I work my ass off to make sure that I like to say I want to be the Paul Harvey of whiskey, and I want to bring you the rest of the story, or as I like to say, the rest of the dram. And to me, is helping those smaller brands out and making sure that you're putting out the right content for those brands. They don't have millions and millions of dollars like Suntory or Jim Beam or Heaven Hill. Those companies have millions and millions of dollars. So anytime I could help them out, promote their whiskey. And I always say, my grandmother always said, "Hey, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all." Well, I won't do that to a distillery. I'm not going to smash and bash them, or shock and awe, as I would call it. Some people would be like, "Oh, that's a drain pour." I'll talk to that distillery and say, "Hey, this is what I don't find pleasing about your stuff." And that's being brutally honest with them, just like Brandon does, but in a quiet way, to where they can work on stuff. And I've proof in the pudding. Philip over at Distillery Acadian, I said that to him about 5 or 6 years ago, and he worked on his stuff, and now it is some great juice. If you're in here watching us, tell us where you're from, what you're drinking on tonight, and what's your favorite craft distillery out there. I'd like to hear it and see it in the comments. I think that'd be pretty neat for them. Besides Crittenden, what's some of your other you guys' Ivan and Brandon? What's your other favorite craft distilleries out there right
now? I'll mention a couple. ASW down in Georgia. Really enjoyed a few of theirs, and I'm looking around here a little bit. There's so many. I mean, we even talked a little bit about. I can't wait to get that Iron Root in my hand. I know we were talking about that, Big Chief. Some of the Woodinville expressions. I've even found some things out in Colorado, like 13th century, not colony, century. So, the old Smoke Eye Hill, which I know is starting to get some notoriety out there. That's another Colorado Springs whiskey out there. Short Barrel, they're starting to get a little bit big down in Georgia as well. But I've really enjoyed those, and I haven't gotten an opportunity yet for the Cajun's cut. I know that I don't want to take anything away from what Brandon's going to say, but I'm really interested, and I had a great time. Those of you that follow me on YouTube as well, down at 7-3 Distillery in New Orleans, and so did Brandon. Brandon was there as well, and I really enjoy what they're doing down there. Meeting Luca, which a lot of people know, the master distiller down there, or excuse me, the distiller down there, is just doing some great stuff, and they were great hosts, very gracious. So that's just a few.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely going to be, Distillery Acadia with Cajun's cut. I was blown away by what Philip was doing there. Excited to learn that he had reached out to Seth, and Seth had done a lot of educating and teaching him kind of what he was doing. And Philip was like, "Man, you're not hesitant to share your art with me?" And he said, "No, because I don't care what you do with it. You can't duplicate what I do. I can't duplicate what you do." So Philip's stuff was phenomenal. And a lot of this I owe to Justin from Spillway, because he's the one that's kind of tied me into the Mississippi Sippers and got me started to go to some of these distilleries with them. But then Justin had reached out to Adam and gotten us a visit to come over to 7-3, and never been there before, but there again, just blown away. And the whole thing with the Brewtally Honest thing, I think people expect me to bash whiskey, but I have such an appreciation for the art and the fact that I don't know if I could duplicate what these guys are doing. Why would I just bash it? Now, I will tell you, there are some whiskeys that I've had that I just couldn't drink, but they are so few. And my wife was like, "I don't think you picked the right name, because you like 98% of what you drink." I was like, "It's probably 99.5. But I just like whiskey, and I just appreciate the art and beauty of bourbon in itself because it's so organic. But hoping to learn about more of these distilleries. You've been in it a long time. I've only been doing this since April, Mike, is when I really started this channel. So I've had a huge opportunity to go up to Kentucky, visit a lot of the distilleries up there, learn a lot, and to get into some of these smaller distilleries to go by and see Detling. I've got a great YouTube coming out on Detling. Hopefully it'll get released later tonight. I think you guys should check that out. My guy, Brendan, did a phenomenal job of production on that. So, but getting to see them and meeting Matt, and now Matt and I are on talking terms where we text during the week, and it's just really cool to see about where he came from, what his family's history is, and what they're doing over there.
Yeah, there's some great distilleries out there, like you said. I got my favorites. Obviously, I love me some Leaper's Fork Distillery.
That was the first place I ever toured.
Some of those guys there are like family to me. April Weller Cantrell there, she's a darling of a friend, like a sister. Iron Root, you mentioned them. I love what the licorices are doing up in Denison. Obviously, in 2020, they shocked the world by beating Rebel 10-year for Bourbon of the Year, best bourbon in the world. I love them to death. And Texas has it going on. Some people can't handle that Texas heat, as I like to call it. But yeah, we got Michael Beach in the comments there. He's my old buddy that if you're ever up at Kroger in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and you see big Mike, he's a giant man. He makes me look like a small man.
Oh,
so
Kroger's the place to go for allocation that's at an affordable price, right? I mean, they're spreading their income through multiple sources, so they don't have to make it all on allocated whiskey.
So some people were asking what I got in my glass. It's this Blue Bolt right here. It's going to be a pick. And so where can people get this at right here?
So I do have the link. I'm afraid to jump out of this because, usually copy and paste. But
no, don't do that. Just post it. Make sure people visit Maldonado's whiskey business. Make sure you give him a follow. If you've been in that bar, and I've been in his bar, it's amazing. This man right here, Ivan, is hands down one of the greatest hosts I've met before. He invited my wife and I inside his house and his bar with his beautiful wife, Maddie. and his awesome dog. I almost took his dog and tucked him up underneath my arm and ran off with him. But if you've been inside his bar and you're on here tonight, please, and I know Ivan, he is not going to ask you to do this, but I'm going to ask you to do it. Ivan needs some reviews of his business to get him rocking on Facebook, right? Facebook, they don't believe in a small man. They believe in a big person. But we want to get him some reviews, get him some follows. Make sure you go and follow his page, follow Brandon's page, Brutally Honest Bourbon tonight. Leave them some reviews. These guys, they deserve it. I don't think everybody realizes how much work goes into one of these pages, one of these blogs, whatever you want to call it, one of these businesses. Mark Rucker's on here. He would tell you it takes a shit ton of work. And I know that. You got to hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle. And you got to be relevant every day and make sure you're doing content. Some people are like, you're always on your phone, but I'm on there trying to create content or
constantly.
It is a battle. It's a battle.
And it's costly too.
Yeah, it's not a cheap business.
And you know, Ivan said it, but I just want to bring it up again. When we were talking about the age statement, I kind of hate sometimes that we even have to put age statements on bottles, because when we're talking about Texas whiskey, when we're talking about Alabama whiskey, and when we're talking about Mississippi, Louisiana, and Kentucky whiskey, those age statements are not relative to one another. You can take a 6-year juice from Alabama and put it up against some of the 10, 12 years from Kentucky and enjoy them just the same. They age differently here, and sometimes a 12-year whiskey here may not would make it because of the climate. I don't know.
I don't think it will make it in, like, down there at Crittenden's in Kill, Mississippi. And what I got to say about those, I call them ageist. And they got their little pinky stuck out. I got a giant pinky, but tuck that pinky away and think about maturation around the world and where you're at in the world. And in Texas, Kill, Mississippi, the whole Gulf Coast right there is on the same latitude as Egypt. So it's hotter than hell. You get up to Denison, Texas, where Iron Root's at, and it's a little cooler. But then you get up to Kentucky, Tennessee, over here to Virginia, they're on that same level. So you might have to age your whiskey in Virginia about the same amount of time that you would age it in Kentucky. But man, there's people out there, and Mark would tell you this, that they'll drink bottled and bond at 4 years old tub, and I'm gonna beat on Jim Beam a little bit here. That is one of my least favorite bourbons of all time is Old Tub, and I know people love it. They'll be like, "Oh my God, it's so good," but that's my personal opinion. So if you'll love on a 4-year-old, why wouldn't you love on a 6-year-old or 4-year-old Texas or Gulf Coast like Crittenden's?
Why does it even matter? Put it in your Glen and try it. You know, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Let the whiskey speak for itself. Don't care. It doesn't matter what the label, the bottle, any of that looks like.
Amen.
Drink the whiskey and just try it.
Yeah, I mean,
and don't judge it off of that initial pop, right? Open your bottle, drink a little bit of it, let it sit around for a few months and come back to it. It'll be a totally different experience.
you know, I agree, and there's a lot of people, and I am not pointing fingers at anybody, especially up in this area, that spend a pretty penny on bottles, and some people will not hesitate to spend $200 quickly on a bottle, and it could be really good. But I'm finding these bottles that are $60, $80, and they just blow them away. It's just a matter of knowing what it is, people feeling comfortable. And again, that's what we're doing here, all three of us, plus I'm sure there's a whole bunch more people doing the same thing. And that's kind of our mission. I think that people start to taste some of this, they're going to go, oh my God. And they're not going to believe how much money in a way they're actually going to save, and how the quality is going to be much better than what they've been drinking for a higher price.
Agreed.
Yeah, if you look at that, even store picks from the big distilleries, you're going to pay much more than you would for a small craft distillery. I just poured myself a glass of this Reservoir. If you've got to catch this episode that I did with Dave and Shelley from there. Phenomenal whiskey education. I left my mind was just blown when we went there, and we spent. I got there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I think we left at about 4 that afternoon. And usually I won't spend that much time at a distillery. I get in there and try to get back out, do my job, and get out of their way. But there was some stuff that came up, and I wanted to help them out. I was there for them, and but what a whiskey education! What a gift I got from them. I felt very honored to meet Dave and Shelley and the whole team there. Rachel was there. And I'm lucky enough. I left with some bottles from there. I got some of their bourbon here. I believe this is a 4-grain. So I think this is 6 years right here. Very, very beautiful.
It's got a nice color to it for sure.
I mean, that's not too far from me. I got to get down there.
I know we were talking about Texas whiskey. I know a lot of people are down on it. And the worst whiskey I ever drank was a Texas whiskey, and I won't even mention it. But I will say this. Still, Austin is probably one of my absolute favorite whiskeys, hands down. Their single barrel cask strength is phenomenal, and that's a Texas whiskey. And it's so unique that I could probably blind it and pick it out because it has a unique flavor profile.
I've got Brandon, when you come up here, I'm sorry, Big Chief, because Brandon, I believe, is going to come up here and grace us with his presence, I think, in December. So I'm going to have him come over to the bar. And I'm going to introduce you to a few that I think might put a big smile on your face. But back to you, Big Chief.
I'm going to shock some people on here. And Ivan, you probably hear me say this, and some people are going to be like, that's bullshit. But it's not bullshit. It's my taste. And I'll challenge anybody to challenge my taste and what I think. But I'm not a big fan of George T. Stagg. It's just not my flavor.
I'm hanging up right now. I'm hanging up.
You go ahead and hang up. I'm just telling you.
No, it's fine. I respect it.
I siphoned gasoline when I was a kid in high school a bunch. You gotta get what you can get, right? But it almost takes me back to that memory of gasoline. Some of it does, and I just don't have a taste for it. It's unpleasant to my palate, and I've tried and tried and tried, and I'm just like, you know what? Why punish myself like that when there's other great things out there?
That's right.
Now there's other stuff in Buffalo Trace that, man, I dig the hell out of it, right? Yeah. You give me some Stagg Junior, I don't know why it tastes different, and I'm sure somebody from.
And I feel like Stagg Junior is siphoning gas. Isn't that funny? That's funny.
But I'm also not a person that's like, oh, goo goo gaga over Buffalo Trace products. I don't care.
They do a great job at advertising good products, but they have some phenomenal products, but not all their products are as good as they advertise them to be. They just have really good advertisement. Yeah, but there's a lot of respect for who they are. You can't knock them.
That's so true. Once again, if you're in the comments, if you're on here watching us, give these two guys a follow. Make sure you leave them a review on their pages. They're trying to build their brands, and it will help them give them that push. I'm sure they would welcome it and appreciate your follows. But in the comments, make sure you tell us where you're from, what you're drinking tonight, and what's your favorite craft distillery. I see some people posting in here talking about the El Dorado, Texas. He's in the house. We got Chef Aaron on here from Double Barrel, Matt Berger. Matt, go ahead and drop that link in the comments if you could for us. We'd appreciate that.
Evilise Cologne is on there, and she put the shared pour link for that barrel, bottle pick from that barrel.
Awesome.
Thank you, Evilise.
Hopefully we're not coming in and out. I see it was freezing up a little bit. Hopefully that's not the case. I might have to go in here.
It's smooth on my end.
Is it? Okay.
Smooth over here. Yep.
Everybody sees me playing with my beard here. It's scratchy tonight.
So Blake Cook just dropped one in there that I'm fond of as well. Is JT Mellick making that rice whiskey over here in Louisiana. Rice farmers, crawfish farmers, and got into making vodka and now making whiskey out of rice. So they've got some unique blends that I like.
Yeah, and they're not the only people making rice whiskey in America right now. Some people might think that, but they're not. Arkansas is the largest producer of rice in the United States, and there's a beautiful rice whiskey out of Rocktown, out of Little Rock, Arkansas. super beautiful whiskey. I was very fond of it. There's some California rice farmers and distilleries working with some rice out there. So make sure you find them out. Oh, somebody said Talnua whiskey out of Colorado. Nick Alfonso said that. I took Nick with me on a podcast episode there at Talnua, and man, phenomenal whiskey. The Millers, if you could meet them, Patrick and Megan, two phenomenal people in the distilling industry, will open their doors to you. I love them to death. Nick, if my friend Nick Alfonso is on here, and I got to give him a big shout out. Check out Guardian Coins. If you're looking to make a challenge coin for your business, if you're a military veteran, Nick is the man, the myth, the legend. He also does what I do in the Coast Guard. So he makes some great products out there. So check him out. He's veteran owned and operated. And I want to point that out about Maldonado Whiskey House. And I got to thank you for your service there, Ivan. Ivan is a military vet of 6 years. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Army.
Army. Go Army, beat Navy.
That's
right. That's right.
I got buddies from all the branches. But yeah, I spent some time in an ordnance battalion, artillery battalion out of Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
And what about yourself, Brandon? Did you serve as well?
No, sir. I'm an Army brat of a first
Army
sergeant.
brat.
My dad served 21 years, so I traveled around with him. Obviously, he was 82nd Airborne and Big Red One in Vietnam. So
there you go. There you go. Love it. So this is a veteran-owned and operated company, Blue Bolt. You know, if you're on here, we got 17 people on here right with us. Make sure you go out there and buy a bottle of this and support Blue Bolt. He is an active duty Marine. As far as I know, he is the only active duty service member that owns his own spirits company.
And
so
he's working his rear end off. He's down there with Matt working hand in hand on this stuff. So he is involved. He's not just sitting back and waiting for Crittenden to ship it to him. He's down there making the labels and prepping the bottles, and he's busting his butt.
Absolutely.
So my wife said hi there. She's in there watching. She's watching this live. And we'll let this go for a little bit. We're gaining some traction here. We're gaining some people for you guys. Tell us where you're from, what you're drinking tonight, and what's your favorite distillery. And make sure you give these two guys a follow and a like. If you want to hit that star button down there, give me some stars. I'd really appreciate it. It helps get me on my whiskey trip. Gives me a little scratch in my pocket, if you would say. I know you giving up that money to McDonald's. Don't give it up to them. They're always like, do you want to round up for another $5? No, I don't. I just want my food and I want to go. I want to go to work.
Hey, you were talking about Colorado. So what do you know about Boulder? I haven't had it. Just a buddy of mine just bought a bottle. We're going to split it and try it, but I hear good things about it. The Boulder cask strength.
I don't really know a whole lot about Boulder. The Colorado distilleries that I've worked with before, I can't think of one now. Molly Brown Spirits. They took old dairy tanks and made stills out of them. Great guys. Talnua, obviously, some great friends of mine. Ironton up there. The guy that hammered out his stills from, he's all over the place. Out of like 10, like photo tins. It's going to rack my mind. His name's Michael Myers, not the nightmare guy, but yeah.
Here.
291 Distilling. I've worked with them before. So I really did a lot. Cajun Cut. I was talking to Philip today, and Philip is in Texas. And Philip asked me, he's like, hey, Mike, I know you're really big into the Texas Whiskey Trail. And yes, that is a thing. If you're done with the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, you've been there too much, go to Texas and get on the Texas Whiskey Trail. It's going to take you a lot longer. Right now, I believe there's 47 distilleries on that Texas Whiskey Trail. But he's in Texas right now, and he's visiting distilleries to see how he can make his distillery better and bigger. And one of the people he's going to get to meet with on Saturday is Marlene Holmes from Milam and Green. And if you've listened to my show, you know I love Marlene. She used to be a distillery supervisor at Jim Beam, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. And everybody's gonna pitch in and help Philip out, and we're gonna push this thing off the map and make sure Distillery Acadian get some recognition, and people start finding his whiskey, Cajun Cut. And his American single malts, don't sleep on them. I'm telling you right now.
And that weeder he's got coming is going to be something special, Mike. And I
Oh
was
yeah.
blown away by the vodka. I'm not a vodka guy, but Heather and I found Century Vodka at Buffalo Trace that we really liked. And I say we really liked. I don't drink it, but when I did try it with her, it was really good. I guarantee you, his $16 bottle of vodka will go toe to toe with it, and we're gonna compare that up pretty soon and see.
That vodka, that's like Old Man Down by the River vodka, isn't it?
Yeah.
$16.
Yeah, and it's good.
Well, there's some whiskeys out there. I took Ivan with me to Belmont Farms here in Virginia, and some people might recognize that name. It was thank you for the stars. Keep hitting that star button, people. Don't give that money to McDonald's or to Hardee's or wherever you eat breakfast in the morning or you eat your lunch. Just give it to old Big Chief, and I'll be able to bring you more content. I would really appreciate it. That probably was Vivian that gave me money. But you look at what's being produced out there, you might be just totally shocked what craft distilleries are doing. You know, there's some great brands that need recognition. You brought up JT Mellick. It's not crawfish whiskey, and some people might say it is, but it's definitely not. It's got a crawfish on the label. I think it's a beautiful bottle. Make sure you check it out. If you're up in South Carolina, outside of Savannah, you want to go to Burnt Church is the place you want to check out. A super beautiful distillery. It'll be worth your visit. I will guarantee you that. If you're in Virginia,
Creek's another there.
Oh yeah, there's distilleries all across America that you just be shocked by. Memphis, Tennessee, Old Dominic is a great place.
Man, they are great over there. Keith treated us so well. They're actually giving us a couple barrels to have to make furniture out of that we're going to pick up next week.
If you're in Augusta, Kentucky, you want to go over there and check out Augusta Distillery. And my friend Alex Castle, she was over there at Old Dominic, but she wanted to go home to Kentucky. She's up there that is the master distiller now, and from what I understand, that place is rocking and rolling. So to point you out to a craft distillery in Kentucky, because some people are like, there's no craft distilleries there, but there are. What
about Fiddler in Atlanta? Are they non-distilling or are they distilling their juice?
So Fiddler is actually ASW, and man, do not sleep on Fiddler out of ASW. They're producing their own stuff, man. I'm telling you.
It's good.
And you know who's their distiller used to be worked for Clyde Mays over in Alabama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's in Atlanta. We talked about, Ivan and I really discussed.
There it is.
Yeah, that's a big boy bottle right there.
Yeah. Well, that's all Ivan carries. The good juice.
I have non-hazmats too.
The one distillery that I kind of beat on, and I'm sure I might have hurt Ivan's feelings because he has a whole collection right behind him of it. It's 13th Colony.
Where he was going.
I haven't had it yet. Talk to me.
The whiskey's good. I love the whiskey. But here's the thing is they say they're producing all their own liquid. It's just so much out there, and I don't know that they can actually produce all that off of a pot still.
So why not be transparent about it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Bardstown's very transparent about it, and they're doing well. So
yeah, and I've said that lately about Jim Beam. Everybody went goo goo gaga over the little book that came out, right? And they didn't put their percentages of whiskey in there. Everybody's like, oh, they're so old with juice in there, 18 years and whatnot. It was a bunch of old juice, but how much of it was 7 to 8 year old juice? And why not be like Bardstown and put your percentages on the bottle if you're going to do that? I
did like the new little book though, the chapter 8.
I didn't say it wasn't. I don't say
no. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Be transparent.
They're big enough a company. Well, because I think if they said, okay, it's 75% 7-year juice, then are they going to get that price for it? What they're getting for it? Or what you're really paying for is that damn box that comes in, and
right. Nobody wants the box.
And I know there's probably going to be a hater out there and say, Big Chief, you can't afford it. Hey, listen, I got a little scratch in my pocket, and if I want something, I'll get it. My
Well, it's
wife will
about
tell you
being
that.
smart about what you buy, though, right?
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it to prove it to somebody else that I can.
Yeah, it's not an affordability thing for some people.
Yeah. If I was going to go with Little Book, and I had plenty of friends that bought it, and what I say is share your whiskey, right? Or with folks. And man,
Absolutely.
Ivan, I'm sure Brandon, you share your whiskey with me all day long, but Ivan
Yep.
went over to Ivan's house and he was like, Mike, there's nothing on the shelves that's you can't touch. He's like, open anything you want to try. Uh, let's, he was trying to give me stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm good. I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
and I probably
I'm the
did have
same way.
almost everything. But share your whiskey with folks, and that way they get to experience what you're getting experienced without going out there and spending the money on a big bottle like that, like the Little Book Chapter 8. And then they can decide whether they want to purchase it or not if they can find it.
That's
I
right.
would rather try to find 4 bottles of Weller 107 to put back on my shelf, or Weller 12 or something like that. But I also want to save my dollars so I can go support these small craft distilleries, like Reservoir, like Crittenden, like Cajun's Cut. I want to support those guys because they need that scratch. They need every little dime. These
Yeah.
distilleries aren't getting rich. They're putting every dollar into there. They got bills to pay, and I just want to make sure that we're putting the right money to where it is. Somebody else said they went to Burnt Church
That was
on
Errol.
the way
Yeah.
to Paris Island. Did he say it was horrible? Oh, beautiful
Oh,
place.
I think he said it's a beautiful place.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Their whiskey, some of their first whiskeys, they had this Johnny Fever that had a shotgun cap on top of it. That whiskey actually came out of Jeff the Cree Distillery, contract
Oh,
distilled
nice.
for them.
Mom and daughter over there making some good juice.
That was right down from my old house, about 4 miles. That's where I lived. My old farm was Jeff the Ben Farm. Is where I lived, and that's why I know the Kroger there in Shelbyville is the place to go if you want to find some hidden secrets. You can't go wrong. So what? Let me ask you both. What got you into this whiskey game? Right? What got you into the whiskey business?
Camaraderie. I just like what whiskey does. The three of us wouldn't have met otherwise, and that's a very small example because I guarantee you, just this year alone, I'm several hundred people in that I've met, and there are, I know, but I haven't met a jerk yet. Like everybody I've met, man, we're all wanting the same things. We're all wanting to share a whiskey, improve people. And there again, I know, Mike, you've been around a lot longer than me, and you've met the jerks, right? But I'm just telling you, it's been, so I like to ride Harleys, and it's the same thing within the motorcycle group. I don't care if you're riding a Honda, Indian, or a Harley. When we meet up to ride, the majority of these guys that I meet up with are just phenomenal dudes. And it's the same thing with whiskey. And the beautiful thing about whiskey is it's male and female alike that I've met. So for me, you talk about sharing the whiskey, that's all that it's about. I'll share anything at my house with anybody. I've sent samples. I've invited people over to drink all the bottles that I was stupid enough to pay the high-end dollars for because I was blessed enough to have them, and they may not. And they're like, man, I may never get to try that. Well, there it is. Come get it. But it's all about that friendship and that camaraderie for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is about that. Go ahead, Ivan. You tell us what you got out of it, man, or what you got into it.
Yeah, no, I definitely was going to piggyback on Brandon. I told you this story, Big Chief, when you were over here. When I started opening my house and opening my bar, I started inviting people over and having these, what I like to call them, sipping sessions. And, my wife, Maddie, kind of pulled me aside one day. She's like, wait a second, what are we doing? Like, who is coming to our house? Like, who are these people? Like, you're just having people come to our house. So she's not wrong, but it was something that I felt good about. I mean, I'm a pretty good judge of character, but I can't say she was wrong. But as I continue to do it, and the people that I met and she was involved with as well, she got a chance. She's like, wow, these are really, really good people. They're fun. And the connections that I've made, and I don't do this for the connections, but I've made connections and rubbed elbows with just amazing people that have come through this bar. Big Chief, I told you a few stories. And I try to keep those, under wraps, but they're all good stories. I mean, so many military people, so many, people from all walks of life that have come in here, and we've shared that common bond. And that common bond is that very special spirit whiskey. And it's really been a fantastic ride. Something that I enjoy very much. It's brought me a lot of joy. I love opening bottles with people And I'm excited about it, but honestly, seeing the excitement on their face, something that I may take for granted and say, hey, this is a good bottle, a special bottle. But for some of these people, they're like, I don't know if I'll ever see that bottle, and they said it to me. And to be able to share that with them and see the excitement on their face, like, oh my God, it makes it worthwhile for me.
Yeah,
and that's what it took for Heather to approve. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, you're
that's
good.
what it took for Heather to approve for me, because when I started, like you said, Mike, it's a lot of time. There's a lot of money. You're on your phone all the time. And she's like, what is all this about? Like, what the heck has happened here? And we watched a Netflix one time, and it was just the guy was talking about all the money he was spending on whiskey, but then it showed a bottle share that he had and how he was talking about time just paused. Like, everybody was in the moment. They were talking to one another. There was nobody on their phones. They're all drinking whiskey, and they're sharing a good time, and they're not worried about what's going on at work or the fact that they may be losing their house or whatever else is going on in life, but they were in that moment. And she was like, you know what? I get it. I see that with you guys when y'all get together.
Well, I think you do find a lot of veterans in the whiskey game or in this, and they love bottle shares. And there's some people on here that have been to one of my bottle shares at my house, and they'll tell you I'll lay out 100 bottles if I have to, more than that if I can. Sometimes you run out of counter space for bottles. But I like to lay out as much whiskey as possible and from around the country, around the world, and let everybody experience what I'm getting experienced. You said you haven't ran into anybody that has a bad attitude. You're gonna eventually run into somebody that's troll you, or there's gonna be those people out there that are bad, and you just got to take it with a grain of salt. The thing I like about whiskey is there's no politics, there's no religion, and there's no social issues. I can't say that enough about, you said it's like that with Harley riders. That's the same way with veterans. There's that camaraderie. And as a veteran, I was kind of looking for that camaraderie. And that's what I found in whiskey, is guys like you that have the same passion I have to explore craft distilleries and what's out there, and really see what's going on and stuff out there. Somebody said, let me read this thing that says off topic, but have you heard any more inside tips on our actual distributing of Old Granddad 114?
I've got some insight on that.
Let's go ahead and hear it.
So, I'm not going to disclose names, but I have a friend that is really close with somebody there at Jim Beam. I won't say their position, but it's very creditable. The story is that is 114 going away and will be rebranded as Basil Hayden, and the price will be reflective of that. So that might be the only Basil Hayden you will ever see me buy, if that does happen. But I did buy a dozen Old Granddads because that's a sleeper.
Well, let's talk about Old Granddad, which Old Granddad is Basil Hayden. That was his name. The photo on Old Granddad, that is Basil Hayden. For you people that don't know out there, and don't sleep on Old Granddad, bottled in bond. Man, for the money, I love it. There's that 4-year-old whiskey out of Kentucky. Oh my God, Big Chief likes that, but he don't like Old Tub because Old Tub tastes like somebody took a bath in it. It's like Big Chief's dirty feet have been in there.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, yeah.
I like. I do enjoy Old Granddad, OGD 114. It also, I know some people feel a certain way about this. I'm not afraid to make a cocktail out of a spirit that is a good sipper as well.
And it complements it. Why not?
I've made some old fashions with Old Granddad 114. Fantastic. And now I mentioned the Stag Old Fashioned, not GTS. I didn't go that far, but a Stag Old Fashioned is actually pretty dang good too.
Hey, if you're in the comments or you're on here watching us right now, we got about 16 people on here. We're getting new people jumping in. Make sure you give these two fellows right here a follow on Facebook and on Instagram. Make sure you leave them a review once you check out their content. I guarantee you're going to like it. And then make sure you hit those stars up there. Down there in that little button down there, hit that stars right there. I really appreciate it. It helps over the whiskey trip, take these trips and meet great gentlemen like these two guys right here. And we've drank some Blue Bolt tonight. I emptied the bottle. It's gone, completely empty. It's that good.
That's why everybody should buy backups.
It's a good
It's
stuff.
it's a single barrel. When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on this. Don't think, oh, it's a Gulf Coast whiskey and I don't want it. I'm telling you, Crittenden's has a cult following right now, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Distillery Occasion. 7.3's got the built-in marketing right there in New Orleans. You want to go to 7.3 and check out Luca and check out what they got up going on. Their new whiskey tree whiskey, they're actually going to have several different expressions of that. And that was just stretched their line out right there. And they're very open about it, where that whiskey's coming from up in Indiana. Everybody knows. But they also brought in Nancy Fraley to blend that MGP with their whiskey and make the whiskey tree. It's kind of fitting, because moonshiners were bringing their whiskey, their distillate to that whiskey tree and trading and stuff. And I'm sure they were blending it up. So maybe a couple different guys, they couldn't get it there, and who knows? So I really love it. Another shout out to, I see Kevin Holy on here from Seldom Seen Farms. He's been with me since the beginning. We both should be at Bourbon on the Banks this weekend, and I just couldn't make it for some personal reasons up there this year. I really wanted to make it, but family comes first in my book, and anybody says I'm wrong, well, you know what I say.
Talking about small brands, I don't know if you know Randy Sullivan with Bourbon Real Talk, but he spent a lot of time with me when I first started. Seth introduced me to him, Seth with Detling there. And Randy has started Prideful Goat. And so he's sourcing some juice from multiple places. Some of it's MGP. That's what I've had, and I really liked it. But he's also got a new one that's a Canadian source that's an older rye that I'm looking forward to try. But if you guys see Prideful Goat, you're talking about the Canadian whiskey is going to be a 12-year whiskey that's going to be sub $60. So that's almost unheard of.
Yeah, bottled in Texas there. He's had some juice from Texas in Prideful Goat, and they're pretty honest about what they're doing there and stuff. Speaking of Giant Texas Distillery, if you don't sleep on Giant Texas Distillery, I'm telling you right now, if you're sleeping on them, you're wrong. I'm telling you, you got to check their stuff out. Somebody said loving some Frey Ranch. Man, you want to talk about some good whiskey from Fallon, Nevada. Really ground to glass, I'd call it. They're planting their own grain out there, harvesting it, milling it up, and then bottling it up for people to drink. I love their farm cut. Oh my God.
And you can buy it online and have it shipped to some places. So
yeah,
I have mine shipped to Florida and pick it up, but absolutely.
Yeah. Belmont Farm, Big Chief, as you remember, they're doing the same thing there. It is grain to glass out in Culpeper, Virginia. And I think everything they've got on the farm, 200-acre farm, minus the yeast. I think that's the only thing that he's getting out of Canada, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So and what's neat about him, he actually has two stills, but he has a still that's a 3,000-gallon kettle still from 1933 out of New York City.
Yep.
There were 3 of them made, and they found it in the woods. I mean, that's nuts. And they had to build a road to get to it and pull it out of an old barn. And I guess the state of Taddy is on here, a good friend of mine. Taddy, how you doing? I gotta say that what an amazing story, because the state of Virginia was going to destroy that steel, and the farmer that bought the land just wanted rid of it. So he had to Chuck up there that you probably see him on Moonshiners on the Discovery Channel, but he actually had to build a road to that barn, kind of tear the barn down, and to get the steel loaded on a semi and truck it out of there. And then he said he got plenty of fanfare rolling down the road with that steel.
What are your guys' thoughts on New Riff? I'm really fond of them. And I know they had to jump through hurdles to even start making their juice, and they've got some 6-year and 8-year out now. That's really good.
So, Greg Metz, that's with God dang, Old Elk used to be there and helping them out. And then What's Some Grace juice. I like their red turkey wheat. Is amazing.
I haven't had that.
If you can get a bottle of that, man, phenomenal. I used to work out at a gym right down the road there, so I got to watch that place go from Party Source, and I actually had some of their first. They were doing barrel picks back then in 2009. Get some of the first barrel picks from Party Source and get to taste them, and then a couple of years later, the distillery starts popping up out of nowhere, and there's not a whole lot of room there. And what's neat is they drilled their aquifer well down into the bedrock there, because the only other way to get water is from the Ohio River. So a lot of distilleries in Kentucky pull their water from the Ohio River. I think some people would be shocked. Green River Distillery, Green River, they do the same thing. So
Love it. Talking about New Riff though, and what they were doing there, didn't he have to spend a ton of capital to build that wall along the river before they'd even let him start building? Crazy.
I think they sold their part of Party Source to start that or get capital raised. And what a great distillery. They're doing it right there in northern Kentucky. Another place up there, some people might know there's other distilleries up there in Kentucky, right? They're not just right there.
Right.
Don't sleep on that northern portion of Kentucky.
So Blake Cook just asked about Ben Holiday. He said he's been on the fence, and I have been too. So I'd love to get your take on that.
So Ben Holiday is out in Missouri, right outside of Kansas City. I think they're the oldest distillery in Kansas City. I think their weeder is fantastic, and I remember when they first came out a couple years ago, they sent influencers these beautiful boxes of whiskey with like an imitation and all kinds of stuff. But now they come out with their cast strength. Man, it is super good. You can't sleep on any of these craft distilleries today because their juice is really coming of age, right?
Yeah.
And why would you want to do that? I hate when distilleries. I hate to see them sell Treaty Oak. I was a big fan of Treaty Oak out in Dripping Springs, Texas. They recently sold that distillery and are going to start doing some different stuff. Still Austin, you mentioned Still Austin a while ago. Don't sleep on them.
Even their entry-level musician is delicious. Like,
oh yeah,
I just haven't had an expression from them that I didn't like. I do like some better than others. Hewling Station, which I don't know how much longer that'll be around from Old Dominic, but what a unique story that is for Old Dominic to use their street water, their city water, to make whiskey. And when they go to MGP to get the Hewling Station, they actually ship their recipe, their grain, and their water to MGP to make that Hewling Station.
So that is a unique situation, and a lot of people don't understand how craft distilling works. And the way I like to explain it is let's say that you wanted to make preserves and you wanted to sell them at a farmer's market. Well, most states would require you to rent a commercial kitchen to do that with because you don't have a big enough kitchen and it's not certified. Well, what most craft distillers would do is they would go up to somewhere like MGP and they would distill whiskey there, a contract distill, and they would bring their ingredients, their everything they want, their recipe, and they would make their whiskey there. Bardstown Bourbon Company, they make so much whiskey for people, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Castle and Key, they make whiskey for people. MGP did that, and they start buying up brands.
Right.
That happens.
Pelopy's now MGP, right?
One of the brands that I'm going to be excited about that's going to come online here in a few years is my friend's Denny Potter. He used to be the Maker's Mark master distiller, and he was at Jim Beam for a while, and he was at Heaven Hill as a master distiller. But him and Jane Bowie, she was the master blender there. They're the minds behind all the whiskey that's been coming out of MGP. Well, now they're making Potter Jane, and I think they are at $90 million on this new distillery. And I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, Blake, I pulled down. I've had this before, but it's been a while. So I wanted to crack that on air on this live. I'll tell you right now, that is really, really good. And I remember it being good. It's got that's a Rickhouse proof. So that's 120, if I remember correctly, 120 proof, 120.1 1 to be exact. Got a really, really good flavor. You get a little bit of that wheat, but it's not overbearing. It's a nice balance. Get a little bit of spice on it. Just at the end, you get that, that proof comes through. But again, it's well balanced. It lets you know it's there, and then it just kind of subsides, but it still stays a little with you. You get that little Kentucky chew. So that actually is real good. Again, we're talking about the Ben Holiday soft red wheat Rickhouse. So that's a good bottle.
I'll have to check it out. I keep seeing it.
Now I'm drinking on this reservoir right here out of Richmond, Virginia. Don't sleep on this little distillery right here. I did a show with Lisa Wicker she used to be with Widow Jane, and she's kind of she's been out of the game for a minute, but she will be back in the game. I'm for sure. But she brought Widow Jane back to life, really, and she's a wealth of knowledge. But I had her on my show a couple months ago, and she whipped out one of these bottles right here, and I was like, "Whoa, what's that?" She told me about it, and we got Emiliano on here, buddy. How you doing? Don't sleep on this distillery. It's phenomenal. They got a 100% wheater, a 100% rye, 100% corn. You want to check these out. They're just phenomenal. And they're using an old cognac still from Austria, which is or brandy still that's made in Austria. And it makes them fantastic whiskey. And what great minds they are, Shelley and Dave up there and their whole team. I was blown away by their experience up there with them, and they know how to do it right. So if you're a social media guy out there and you're looking to get in with somebody and start this, I would tell you to go to these craft distilleries, and they will give you the love if you're going to help market their stuff. Wow, what an experience. Hey, make sure you're hitting the stars buttons up there. I noticed somebody gave us a shit ton of stars for putting a smiley face on Brandon's face for a little bit. So I can't thank you enough. That's what gets the whiskey trip going down the road. Make sure you give these two guys a follow on Facebook and Instagram, and leave them a review. If you've been in Ivan's bar, look at that bar back there. My God, what a bar.
I'm jealous. I'm too jealous.
Man, I'm telling you, Brandon, he's got it going on. Him and his wife has spared no expense at building this beautiful bar there.
That's awesome.
And he's got a glass for everybody, and he's got a whiskey for everybody. And I think if you've shared a pour with him in his bar with him, you owe the man a review. It's easy to write. It's easy. It takes seconds. And another thing you could do for these two gentlemen to help them build their pages is you can go to your friends list, go to their page, you hit the 3 little dots, and you push invite friends. And you can invite every one of your friends to like their page. And that friends, they can decide whether they want to follow, like, or they can just delete your request. It's that easy. And I love helping these two guys build their brands. They've reached out to me, and I'll give them as much love as I possibly can and make sure that we're getting them on the right track, on the right start. I hope that I see you both in New Orleans, Louisiana for the New Orleans Bourbon Festival.
I'm planning to be there.
I'm planning on it.
Man, what a party. Is anybody else on here going to join us in New Orleans for this party? I'll have 2 seminars I'm going to do on Friday and Saturday for about 1 hour. You don't want to miss my show. One of them is going to be, I believe, on Gulf Coast whiskeys, and the other one's going to be about the Texas Whiskey Trail and Texas whiskeys for the next day. You don't want to miss my show. I'm very energetic and live, and it don't turn off, that's for sure, until I hit the pillow that night. You never can tell what I'm going to have with me at the Bourbon Festival, what kind of whiskey I'm going to have with me. But it's a great place to meet whiskey enthusiasts. 2 days of education. There's not another festival out there doing the way they do it. So what you get to do is you get 2 days of seminars from about 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. And they serve you lunch and some great food, but you get these 1 hour seminars with some of the best educators in the business. They had the cocktail Contessa there, Heather Wibbles, she was there making cocktails. Sazerac had somebody there. You've had Brent Elliott from Four Roses was there sampling his whiskeys. I had Denny and Jane last year from Potter Jane. I did a Texas whiskey show last year as well. They had a women's panel, which was great, talking about how they got into the industry. There are all kinds of seminars for 2 straight days. And so that you don't have to, in the middle of the festival, miss out on all the tastings, you get your education part. Most festivals have the education part and seminars and talks going on in the middle of the festival, which you're missing out on all those great tastings. So then they have the grand tastings at nighttime, and you get there, enjoy it and stuff. And they have food there for you, and it doesn't cost you anything extra to eat inside that festival. So and it's the best that New Orleans has to offer. I can't tell you how great it is. And New Orleans itself is just a great city. Don't think of what it is about Bourbon Street. That's Bourbon Street. Don't put that on the rest of the city. I'm telling you, the food there, the restaurants, the atmosphere, it's such a beautiful city.
And just how the people welcome you. I mean, you feel so welcome in any of the spots you go in. They treat you so well.
Yeah. I was there for too short of a time. I cannot wait. Maddie, my wife, loved it. Again, just for the short period of time we were there, and we got just a drop of what New Orleans has to offer. So we're looking forward to going back.
So the good thing about New Orleans Bourbon Festival, you're on here watching, and you want to get 10% off your tickets. You enter the code TRIP25 in there, and you'll get 10% off your ticket purchase today. Buy your tickets because they're going to go fast. You want to get the VIP, but I think the 2-day seminars with the grand tastings is about $159. I'm telling you, you cannot beat that price. You're not going to go to Kentucky and get that. You're not going to go to Texas and get that. You're not going to go anywhere and get that 2-day experience like that of education and whiskey drinking. I can't say enough about it. I love New Orleans. It's only a 3-hour drive for me, and I got some great friends over there. Matt, I've got some other great, Matt Spector over there is at the Whiskey Festival, and I got Christian and Colette Hart over there. My brother and sister in Blue over there. I love New Orleans, and Tracy and his wife, they put on one hell of a show. The whiskey judging is done by a VIP panel of participants at the festival. That's what I like about it. It's not people that are famous in the game, and they might be a little biased, even though it's a blind. I just love it. James said that it rocks. It does rock, James. Get those tickets today. I implore you. Hit that star button down there. Help the whiskey trip. Help these 2 guys right here by giving them a follow and some likes to their page, and leave them some reviews. We'll wrap this up, guys. I said we'd go to 10 o'clock, but any thoughts on some big things coming out in whiskey right now?
I'm real excited about 25 for Detling. So he's coming out with his first rye whiskey, and it's going to be special. So that's something that I'm excited about. And also, we talked about the gold label. He's got 3 barrels right now that are ready, and throughout 25, he's going to have several more. So we'll see more of his top end expression come out.
Yeah. I know Four Roses is supposed to be coming out with a rye. And I know we all know they've got 10 recipes, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, I think they're doubling it with 4 more recipes.
I heard they were doubling it. I don't know. I just think it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. I get excited. I am a rye guy, but very much like Brandon, I have a very, very broad palate. So there's not a whole lot I don't like. There's definitely some things I like more than others, but I have an appreciation, Brandon said, for a lot of different expressions, and it's really the mood that I'm in. Obviously, I have my favorites like everybody. I'm real excited to learn more. I'm real excited to experience more. I'm excited to bond with fellow enthusiasts like both of you gentlemen, and I think the future is really bright. And I think if we're able to come together and as a community, there's a lot of great whiskey out there, and I'm just enjoying experiencing it and then bringing it so others can experience it as well. And I know that this year there's it's going to be exciting. I know I'm working on a few things. I know Brandon's definitely. So just excited about it overall.
Well, make sure you keep watching the Whiskey Trip because I'm about to start putting some stuff on YouTube. I've actually recorded 2 videos of the last 2 podcasts. I'm pretty excited about it. Hopefully, I can figure this technology thing out and it don't beat me down.
You and Brandon, man, you guys are making me look bad. You guys are.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I don't need it. I don't need it. It's a struggle, Ivan. But Mike, I do hope in 25 that, and I'm sure Ivan would love to do it too, but you know, I'm off 2 weeks straight. I like to travel a lot. My 24 is booked up. Yours probably is too, but I'd love to jump in your back pocket and hitch a ride with you some places. So
yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to be over in the Atlanta area this year coming up and doing some stuff in Atlanta. My brother lives north of Atlanta, so I'm going to try to get a couple of episodes over in Georgia, some Alabama, maybe southern Tennessee. You never can tell where I'm going to be at, never where I'm going to show up at. But you're probably going to see just a little bit of Irish whiskey coming out of my show, hint, hint. And you might even see me over in Ireland for a little bit.
awesome.
I'm hoping. And maybe even Scotland. Who knows what 25 is going to bring. You know, I don't ever want to plan it out to where I'm like, dang, I had to cancel that. But I'll definitely be up in Kentucky, hopefully next year for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. Show my face up there. I'll definitely be 25 is going to start out with a banger. Hopefully I'm at the Southeast Texas Whiskey Festival in Beaumont, Texas, but I'm looking forward to the New Orleans Bourbon Festival. They're a sponsor this year for me, and I'm really excited about what the future brings for the Whiskey Trip. Just keep listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe on Apple Podcast. Leave me a review on there. Leave a review on my page. Invite your friends to follow me. Follow my page. You know what I say. You know, I do this to bring you great content. That's all I want to do is make sure that you hear those stories from me, and let me know if somebody the other day said, "Hey, I can't hear your voice," because even though I'm a big guy, I do talk low when I'm recording, and I had my headphones all the way up, and because I wanted to hear myself because I'm partially deaf in both ears. You spent 24 years in the military, you know, you're probably going to be a little bit deaf. And I did do, I was active duty for 24 years and I still work for the military today. So I love supporting veterans like yourself, Ivan. I even love supporting military brats because my wife is one. You know, but if you could do something for a veteran, do something for a veteran. Help them out. And you know what you could do today is go to that link they showed and buy some of this Blue Bolt right here. You will not regret it. You'll stick it up next to that bottle of Weller 107 if you have a bottle. Do a blind with it, and you'll be totally shocked. Any last words, guys?
No, Mike. I just really appreciate you, man.
Well, I apologize that this took me so long tonight to get figured out. You know, obviously, I couldn't figure out the iPad to use it, but I think this has been a great time tonight with you two guys. Next week, I'm actually going to have a music star from Appalachia on with a live, and we're going to talk about. He has some really good songs about flooding, and we're going to talk about North Carolina and the flooding. We're going to talk about music, and we're going to talk about bourbon with him. You don't want to miss this live. I'm going to try to do with him. I'm going to keep trying to come live every week. Last week I missed out. Just didn't feel up to it. And you know, we're on the road, so this is a little bit more difficult for me to do it here. But once I get back home at my house, it'll be a little bit more comfortable for me to do a live, and I'll have my mic and my studio, and hopefully I can make this a little bit better the next time around. I appreciate everybody that's came in here and watched Ivan Maldonado's Whiskey House, Brandon from Brutally Honest Bourbon. Make sure that you, like I said, I can't say it enough. Follow these two guys on Facebook, Maldonado's Whiskey House and Brutally Honest Bourbon, and invite your friends to like their pages. They need your help. And then if you go to their houses, you go to their bar, if you go to hang out with them, leave them a review. It will energize these guys. It'll make them want to bring you better content. I guarantee you that. So as I always say, Ivan, I didn't get you any last words, man.
No, I'm just gonna say I love you, Mike. But if you are looking me up, It's Maldonado Whiskey Business. Don't
Whiskey
look up
business. Yeah, yeah.
I just don't want anybody looking up. I can't find this guy.
I can't even say his last name right, Mike, so don't worry about that. I murdered his name in front of 7-3 trying to shoot a video. So
he's got the damn shirt on, and I couldn't say it right. Maldonados Whiskey Business.
Hey, you've been drinking, Mike.